Hi, this is Mark Littleton, the minister of the Word for the Athens Church of Christ, with today's 3-minute sermon. I want to share with you a passage today in the New Testament, the book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 10. There we find the words of Jesus himself. Jesus says this, "One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much." In other words, Jesus said, you can tell whether a person is honest or dishonest, whether they are what they ought to be or what they ought not to be, by how they handle the seemingly small, insignificant things in their life. Reminds me of a story I heard about a new preacher in town. And he was riding on the bus one day, and he got on the bus and paid his fare to the bus driver. The bus driver gave him his change back. He went and sat down. And he noticed that somewhere along the way that the driver had given him too much change back. And he was tempted just to keep it. I mean, it was just a quarter. The guy just overlooked it. It's really no big deal, just a quarter. But at his next stop, when he was going to get off, he went up to the driver and he said, "Hey, you gave me too much change." And he handed him his quarter back. The man said, "Thank you for that." And then he said this. He said, "Aren't you the new preacher in town?" See, you can be sure how we handle our money, how we handle a quarter too much change, how we handle the small things, the things that we might think don't mean anything in life, they really are significant. And you can be sure somebody is watching us. Somebody was watching that preacher that day, and I guarantee you how he handled that made an impression on that bus driver. Somebody's watching you, and somebody's watching me. How are we going to handle those small things in our lives that we might not think are all that important at all? You can be sure somebody's watching, and you can be sure of something else. Friend, you can be sure that God is watching. So here's my challenge to you today. Don't think that any area of your life is small or insignificant. How are you handling things in those areas of your life? We tend to think, man, in the big areas, I'm going to make sure I get that right, but these areas over here, they don't really matter. No. You can tell whether a person is what they ought to be or not what they ought to be by how they handle those small, seemingly insignificant things. So my challenge is be faithful in those little things, because that's going to show you would also be faithful in much. Other people are watching, and God is watching too. Hope you have a blessed day. Lord willing, I'll join you again tomorrow for another 3-minute sermon. God bless.